Alright, back to Final Fantasy X though. But in addition, I've also been working hard on the actual Twitch aspect of my streams. So one thing I've added is I'm experimenting with the channel point campaign you can do, where it only lets you do it for 30 days, but basically you can put points towards restoring the overlay. Basically, I just want to split up the amount of time I spend on it. But you can spend White Wolfos, and you can boost things now. Yes, shark tokens are gone. I'm unifying the brand. In addition to that, if you feel like it, not that there's many people watching right now, but if you feel like it, the tip thing is more prominent now on the bottom. I made a special little logo for it. And it can help go towards breaking even on Stranger of Paradise, which is what I'll be streaming going forward next year. Next week. Ugh. But anyways, now we get to pray at the Temple of Jose. Also, off screen, I went and tried to go back and get the treasure chest I missed last stream, but it's actually just completely blocked off. The camera locks in place, so you can't actually backtrack at this point. It's kind of weird.
I've been thinking about the future.
Hello, Miss Spade. I mean, no streams for a whole year is kind of par for the course with me, but I'm trying to be more consistent. I finally got a time frame that works.
Stay here for a while. I would pray for those fallen in battle. But how? How can I enter the temple after what we have done?
Alright, so luckily, temples are just a thing that you do when you don't want to do any fighting. You just look at a guide and you go through it. So this part's not super relevant to this challenge run.
That idiot. What? What do I do?
But yeah, I don't know what happened here. I could have sworn I got it so that Gato would die. I almost always get Luzu to die. I want to do something different this time, but I guess there's some nuance to it I forgot about.
Luzu, he's...
Hey, we can't skip ahead to throwing away the religion. That's for later. Once you realize it's all a sham and run by zombies. Oh. You can never really tell with this game whether or not you can actually talk to people or if a cutscene is going to trigger.
I am Summoner Yuna from the Isle of Besaid.
As I thought.
What was that gesture?
The daughter of Lord Braska.
That wasn't the usual summoning
You have
thing,
to
like
look at your father.
the prayer of Yevon or whatever it's called. The blitzball sign for victory.
No, I have never met the man. Ah, my apologies. I am Isaru. I am a summoner.
I think what happens to Isaru in 10-2 is really interesting, honestly.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm Maroda. I'm guarding my big brother here.
Since I was a child,
It's like a half prayer.
Lord Braska. I wished I would someday become a high summoner like he was. You must have some of your father's talent in you. I believe you might someday defeat Sin.
I'm not really.
So Isaru's generic
I've
model
only
is making me
just
think
become
about
a summoner.
how Opera Omnia, the Dissidia
Of course,
mobile
I have
game,
no intention of losing either.
in Japan a while back they
So
added
perhaps we should
Yuna's
race
father,
to see who can
Braska,
defeat Sin
and I
first.
just
No.
think that's super interesting because
Very well
that means they're
then.
gonna have cutscenes where
accept your
Yuna and
challenge.
Braska interact, and Braska has to actually have characterization.
Yuna, I
Because he gets like maybe
luck to both of us.
maybe 5 minutes of screen time. Oh, you don't get to claim Ixion's name because Onyx already did. He claimed it a few streams back, and he tried to change what he named it, but I'm sticking with his original suggestion. He has to learn to live with the consequences of his actions. That's depressing. I'm sure it must have come up at some point in a previous stream, but these backgrounds upscaled look so nice. I wish these assets for Final Fantasy IX still existed. Like, I don't know if anybody in the chat has seen the uncompressed, like undownscaled versions of Final Fantasy IX's backgrounds, but they're amazing. Like, they're immaculate. You could, if those assets still existed and they just ported Final Fantasy IX, they could say, oh yeah, look, check out this new game. It's in 4x3 for some reason. We are out of funeral shroud. Jesus. I think I might have mentioned this, but yeah, no, Braska did basically throw his life away. His calm lasted 6 months. Like, it wasn't until a conversation I had with someone, I think it was Mr. Feel, where I realized that his calm didn't last up until some point before Yuna left on her pilgrimage. It lasted less than a year. It was her childhood. We are all out of healing potions. I mean, just learn some white magic. It's really early on the sphere grid. Never occurred to you how fucked this part of the game is? Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on the last stream because I always forget about this detail. There's that bit right at the start of the operation where you can see a little kid with a broadsword like the size of his body, and like as an adult saying, "Do you want to get revenge for what Sin did to your sister?" He's like, "Oh yeah, no, a bunch of child soldiers probably died in that fight."
Hey, you.
Me?
You are Yuna's guardian, no? Moroda's heard a curious rumor. I thought you should know.
Yeah, I really appreciate
I
how
heard it from those crusaders.
magic in 10 is nothing like
Seems
at
those
all
summoners have been
special
going
at
on
all. It's just a
pilgrimage
thing
and
you
just
do.
Disappearing.
It could just be the fiends got them.
Like,
But not
yeah,
so
something I really
nice.
love about Final Fantasy being in a series
Sorry,
where
I don't
every
know
single
what.
entry is different
Watch
is that
your
it
back.
there's so many different
Ain't
interpretations
much
of the
future
same
for a
ideas.
guardian without a summoner,
Like in
eh?
Final Fantasy 15, your potions are energy drinks that are just empowered by magic.
We're talking about doing your job as a guardian.
Hey, I'm doing good. Right, big brother?
But yeah, I just think it's super interesting how in 10-2,
Please be careful.
Maroda and Pache
Will do.
both like strike out on their own and grow as people, but Isaru is just completely stuck in the past and has nothing.
Be right there. See ya.
Yeah, summons are important in a lot of Final Fantasy games. Like, they're really vital to Rydia in 4. Yeah, they're a race of people in 6. And then in 13, they're literally like character stands, basically. But then you also get stuff like Final Fantasy V, where it's just like, oh, Ramu is just in a forest outside of town, and he won't join you unless you found Shiva, who is just underneath a castle randomly. Like they're just like basically hidden bosses that you can collect for your summoner job. So Aeons do appear in 10-2 in a couple of different ways, actually. They're part of the story, but also there's a really interesting little thing where in 10-2 International's character creator, or not character creator, it's called creature creator, but it's just a Pokemon type capturing thing. But basically there are select monsters you can capture, and if you capture them and then level them up enough, they evolve into Aeons, which I think is really cool. Yeah, 7 has a weird relationship with summons because they're in the story a lot, but they're just a thing you get from materia like magic. I love how in 7 though, the reason why you can use magic so easily is because materia just contains the knowledge of how to use magic. So you just equip it and now you know how to use magic. It's not like you're focusing magic through the materia or something. It's like equipping a book. Well, in 13-2, they are just strong monsters. Well, in 13 in general, I mean, they are just strong monsters. Like, they're actually like a very unceremonious thing in 13 that they just kind of discover is different than what they expected. Because when they first start encountering the Eidolons in 13, they say, oh yeah, Eidolons appeared before Lassie who lose hope to kill them. But then it turns out that because these are the main characters, they actually beat the Eidolons and gain them as like their power. So even that aspect is interesting. Like there's a lot of stuff in Final Fantasy that doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but is really neat. This puzzle stumped you for a couple hours. I have a guide open right next to me just in case. Because yeah, I say this every time we go to a cloister, but these are not intuitive puzzles at all. Like there's just nothing to really indicate. It's weird because it's like an inverse of Zelda. I've been thinking about Zelda a lot because I was playing the Minish Cap randomizer. And like in Zelda, there's always a clear-cut functionality to things. Like there's a certain type of block that you'll immediately recognize as something you can push. Or like in Minish Cap in the first dungeon, there are mushrooms you can pull on and then it'll make you jump over gaps. There are switches you can pull and that'll make something happen. There are switches you can pull really far out and then they start to retract, and that's your timer for how long that thing will last. So there's stuff like that. Each thing is like its own segmented thing, and then this is just everything is a sphere. And so like there's a level of intuition where it's like, yeah, these are electrical spheres, so they can be used to power machinery. The fire spheres can be used to burn things. But the thing is that it's a bunch of discrete actions. It's not like this is a dungeon full of lightning doors. Find a way to power the lightning doors. It's each of these machines needs electricity. Get the electricity, idiot. Like, there's nothing that indicates what a supercharged sphere does besides just the idea that it's better, question mark. Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, put the electric sphere into the pedestal and it'll levitate on this lightning. Like, it's just not stuff that immediately clicks in your mind. Okay, so you think that the summons in 7 are meant to be like the spirits of ancients? Could be, but they are kind of just treated as like big monsters. Like in Advent Children, they summon Bahamut Sin. In Crisis Core, there's an interesting tiny little bit of dialogue where one of the first bosses, I think it's against Ifrit, or no, it might be a later summon boss, but basically Zack says summons aren't meant to be used this way. And that's always been something that stuck with me, because I don't think anything else in 7 really like says anything remotely like that. The cloister trials are said to be really dangerous, but actually they're just very obtuse. That's true. Like, yeah, they do make a big deal, like, oh, you know, you can't go in there. I guess in theory, this like how did like Isaru deal with this? Did he just like get in his cloak? Did he like jump across this like Tidus did? Like, how did Donna and Bartello get through this? Like, it makes sense that this isn't much of a challenge for Tidus. He's just a blitzball guy going and jumping around and having fun, but like, he threw his younger brother across the gap. Yeah, they just bypassed the entire puzzle. Like, Tidus, meanwhile, has these self-imposed challenges. Like, he can only carry one sphere at a time. Alright, so, if I remember right, the trick to this puzzle is that you need to get one extra Thunder Sphere, yeah, it's a Jose Sphere, I believe, and bring it up to the top to open a door. Which doesn't sound super hard. Yeah, I could see 7 Remake putting more of lore into what the summon materia are. I mean, in general, in 7 Remake, I'm expecting a lot of cool new information. Because, like, I feel like any ideas they had are going to be reintroduced. Like, one I keep bringing up is that there's an old idea for Red 13 where he was going to have 2 Virgils. He was going to have a blue and a purple one, a Cobalt and Indigo 14 and 15, I believe they were called. And I want them to come back. I want him to have some Virgils to fight, because his story ends so fast in 7. Him and Barrett are like done, like they're the first stories you get. Like if I were to guess, I'd say 7 Remake 2 is going to have Red 13 and Barrett's stories, at least. And I hope that they give them stuff to do in the stuff that comes after. Because, yeah, like, it's kind of nuts how 7 has some one-and-done characters despite having such a small party. Like, 6 has an excuse, but what's the excuse when you've got a party of, like, what, 8, I want to say, and one of them dies? I won't say who. Donna used Bartello as a bridge. She would. Six is such a crackheaded game. True. I mean, there's a reason why you can suplex a train. Yosuke kissing you with a live slug reaction. I see. Interesting. What do you mean by it's 9 for 7? I mean, it's not just Final Fantasy VI. Like, the SNES era in general with their JRPGs, they were just insane. They were so wacky. Chrono Trigger is insane. Super Mario RPG is really insane. Like, I know I told you about this, but Super Mario RPG, there is like, oh no, we need to break up this wedding. Okay, we did it. Whoa, the bunt cake is alive, and it's a boss fight. Oop. Alright. Now where is that destruction sphere? Nine characters in 7? It might be. I always forget a few. Like, Ketshi is just like a white noise to me. I do not acknowledge the existence of Ketshi. I mean, yeah, the aesthetics changed, but that's just because 7 onward is when Nomura took over as the character designer. Except for 9. 9 had someone else. I forget who. Alright, there's that spear-shaped recess. Nomura has done art of at least Zidane for Dissidia. And I have no idea who you're referring to, Miss Spade, with the redacted. Oh, and he's also done Vivi for Kingdom Hearts 2. Alright. Man, I think that light effect is glitching out. My favorite thing about the Dissidia design of Zidane is in NT, they had to make his daggers like long swords, basically. They're just gargantuan. The one person who is definitely not there in the original. Are you talking about at the very, very end? That whole thing? Yeah, that's the basic idea with NT is, yeah, it's an esports game. Everyone's got to have these big wide things for the team-based combat. But, like, they can just make the hitboxes bigger. There's no rule that says that the daggers have to be gigantic. They can just make wind slashes that are 10 times bigger than Zidane. That's what Kingdom Hearts 2 does. Or Kingdom Hearts 3, I mean. Apparently they just reused the face model for all the women, because that's just like Team Ninja something or other. Like, yeah, there was some weirdness going on with that. Oh, it's a glyph on the wall, apparently. I mean, Zidane daggers vary. Like in Opera Omnia, they're normal sized. They're kind of big in 9, but everything has like a deformed art style there, so it's kind of just par for the course. Oh, wait, I can see it. So intuitive. I love game design. Yeah, no, absolutely the worst crime that NT ever committed was making it so that Bartz just has like a job mastery gimmick instead of his mime gimmick. That was just like, that's, even if the game was great, that's just really messed up to make such a cool gimmick and then just erase it. Alright, do I just put it in? Is it that easy? It is. Hooray, magic spear. Okay. I got 2 magic spheres for Auron now. That's gonna help a lot. He needs it. In fact, I'm gonna have a quick look. I gotta pick just the right spot so that I can get it for Kimahri too. So one's gonna go there for sure. I guess I'll put the other one there. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. One there, one there. Yeah, the people who defend the Bartz change are very, like, functionality driven, where it's like, no, but don't you see? When he masters his bow attack, he gains plus 10% speed. That's way more cool than him dual wielding a gunblade and a buster sword. Why would I want that? There's not another thing like that in NT where they made it so that Yuna doesn't actually summon her summons. She just uses their attacks. And everyone's like, no, the functionality is the same though. She uses the attacks that the Aeons use, so it's the same. But I was like, no, I want to summon Bahamut and Ixion and such. And they do the attacks. She's a summoner. Alright. That's that for now. Hello, A Shameless Shield. How's it going? Yuna could have used an animation overhaul? What do you mean? In the original Dissidia?
Well, you again.
Man, that's twice I gotta talk to Auron, I think.
Quite the crowd, I say. What is it, Bartello? You know this riffraff?
You are Auron, no?
What of it?
Can I shake your hand? Auron. No, Sir Auron.
Vibing while doing the laundry?
You're the
Nice.
reason I became a
That's what I do
guardian.
on Mondays.
Thank you, sir.
So,
This means
okay, yeah, with
so
NT,
much to
they could have reworked Yuna's animations, but consider, it's a 3v3. They have to have a bunch of characters on screen at once. They could potentially have 6 Yunas summoning, and that wouldn't work on a PS4 with that graphical fidelity.
Get back here.
So they had to change it.
Hang in there, buddy. Eh?
And you know, the 3v3 aspect of Dissidia is very important. You can't just not have that. Alright, where's Kimahri? Wait. Please don't just trigger the cutscene.
Pick spot. Shut up. Wait.
Quite the show, yeah? Not so good on the heart, though.
3v3 is the core of the Dissidia franchise. I would even, I can't even bring myself to say that I would be open to another attempt at a 3v3 with Dissidia. 'Cause I legitimately feel like unless they completely change how it works and just give all the characters guns, it doesn't work. It's too melee focused. But meanwhile, yeah, if they made like a PS5 Dissidia that was just like a regular, normal, actual Dissidia game, that would be probably the best game that there's ever been. I mean, there already is a Final Fantasy Battle Royale. That's what the First Soldier is. It's important to Final Fantasy VII's lore.
Stop pacing around. Be calm and wait.
Okay, Dissidia Q Shadow Labyrinth, I'd be fine with. I think that, just like Smash Bros, Dissidia has a lot of potential for moving outside of the actual fighting game genre. Like,
I'll never wash this hand again.
there, you could do Dissidia Kart. It would be fine. It'd be great. It'd be better than Chocobo Grand Prix, I think. Like, you know, instead of having like the Chocobo based stuff, make it like hardcore Cosmos versus Chaos epic story with like a world map and dungeons and stuff. Make it so you have an EX mode for your whatever vehicles. Yeah, even like a Dissidia Battle Royale, it would take some doing to figure out how that would work, but I think it'd be neat. Like you'd have to have a ton of Final Fantasy characters to make it work because you need to have a bunch of people. But the idea of like, oh no, there's Gact, and he's about to defeat Realm, but she drew a picture of him. Like the miasma is closing in.
Nothing to do with my father. I am traveling on my own as a full-fledged summoner.
Oh, is that so? Then try standing on your own two legs for once.
She drew Genesis Persona. That would just instantly defeat him, I think. All right. Moment of truth. So I've been meaning to look at the actual stats of these Aeons. Because I feel like they're all messed up because of this path I'm on. But I don't really have a good frame of reference, so I don't know if this is super high strength or speed. Their speed's surprisingly low across the board. But like, 35 strength does seem high for this point. Like, I don't think anyone has that besides the Aeons. Yeah. Okay, I could really vibe with an isekai type, like normal high school kids turn into the Warrior of Light and other iconic Final Fantasy characters, that kind of thing. That I could totally get behind that.
Dana has left. Isaru too.
We're leaving once Yuna gets here.
The monkey loves him. They both do.
Get ready for the journey ahead.
Wow, he just keeps attracting more and more monkeys. They're clipping right through him. Oh, no, it's the same one. I think that might be part of the plot of Tactics Advance.
Morning always comes.
Because,
And our
yeah,
journey
Tactics Advance is a weird thing where it's like set in a real location called Ivalice, but then they go to like a fantasy Ivalice because they played Final Fantasy on their TV. So there is that. I feel kind of bad. I've never gotten very far into any tactics game because I'm just not good at them. The main character calls someone a slur? What?
We're leaving once Yuna gets here.
Donna has left.
No matter how dark the night, and our journey.
Treasure chest. I totally forgot to even come in here. Wow, this stuff's all garbage. Defense plus 5%? Granted, I am actually low on defense, but you know, 5% isn't going to change anything. Switch hitter. I think that's a Waka. There we go. Ugh. Oh, wait, no. No, still ugh. Although actually, he has decent strength considering how fast he is, so that actually might not be terrible. Oh, calling a fantasy lizard creature a lizard creature is... I wouldn't call that a slur. That's just your usual fantasy schlock.
We're leaving once Yuna... We're leaving once...
Okay, what am I missing that triggers this? What's going on?
Get ready for...
Oh, right, Yuna's sleeping, isn't she?
She was working until dawn,
Oh.
healing the wounded.
Hello, voiced NPC.
Okay. I guess I'll just let her sleep for now then.
Look at that skirt animation go. It's trying its best.
What? Morning?
Don't worry.
But it's morning. I'm so sorry. I'll get ready right away. Just a moment.
Don't worry. It's okay.
So don't forget, folks, as you're watching, you are earning your very own white wolfos, and you can use those to work towards rebuilding the overlay.
Yo, sleepyhead.
All my little construction wolfos are working on it around the clock.
Please forgive me.
Really, there's no rush. Here, your hair.
Thanks for the clip,
Summoner with
Marvin.
bad hair. What's the world coming to?
You could have woken me up.
We called
25%.
with all that snoring.
Oh, hello, Julian Hermo. I didn't even know you were here.
What is it today? Everyone's picking on me. Oh, you too, Sir Orin?
I appreciate you
Once
lurking.
Lady Yuna fixes her hair, we leave.
And just like that, we're 60% of the way, too. I think.
I hadn't really laughed like that in a long time. It was only later that I realized. The only one really laughing then was me. Laughing must have been the only thing keeping them going.
In retrospect, it's weird that Tease was already laughing like a day after Operation Mi'ihen. Hello, Films and JRPGs. How's it going? If you don't know, I'm doing a challenge run of Final Fantasy X where I play all the jobs wrong. I've got, like, Tidus as the white mage, Yuna as the whatever Tidus is, that kind of thing. Halberd. I wonder if that's anything good for Kimahri. It is insane how many items they just throw at you if you talk to your NPCs. Ooh, wow. Wow, okay, that's actually huge. Like, that's like, I think, the second highest bonus you can get to a stat. But I have to give up piercing. Right now his strength's better than his magic, but that's something to keep in mind for later. I just have to remember it exists. Yeah, the whole Tidus narrator conceit is really interesting, and especially I think there's something added to it by the fact that James Arnold Taylor, when he was recording this stuff, he was under the impression that Tidus was older when he was doing the narration. And I guess technically he is, but he thought he was significantly older, so you can tell that Tidus's voice is different, it's deeper and more mature. And I think that really helps the idea of, like, showing where he is at that point, even if it wasn't really what James intended. So, films and JRPGs, I don't have a good way to refer to you, but the thing is that this game has what's called an expert sphere grid, which in theory, it starts all your characters in the middle here, and then all these branches are where your characters are supposed to go by default. So in theory, you can go backwards through it and go to the wrong path. And the thing is, even though you can do that, it doesn't really seem like you should, because the way this game works is when you level up, you get to move 1 point on this grid. So if you go backwards, you just have a deficit. You lose level ups, basically. You still get stats if you come along to these nodes, but you don't get to go straight into all the abilities and stuff for your class. Not only that, but these characters all have limit break type moves. They have overdrives, and they're all based around their default path. So like the Black Mage has a thing where she can cast spells consecutively. So obviously, if her magic stat sucks, that's not going to do me much good. That kind of thing. So I'm interested because there's stuff that's also happening where characters are ending up weirdly good for the route they're on. Like, I've got Waka, for example. I took him along the route for the Thief, and the result is that he has pretty high agility, pretty high strength, decent defenses, decent magic, and he starts off with great accuracy. So he just has a lot of good stats overall. So yeah, like, I'm really curious who's going to end up being really good, like unintentionally so, and who's going to be really, like, dead weight.
Will you be okay?
I feel that I have rested enough, but thank you for your kindness. Will you be leaving too?
Yes. First we cross the moon.
Oh, and I'll refer to you as
we
filmed, I
head north in
suppose.
search of chocobos to replace those we have lost.
Once we find chocobos, our mounted forces will ride again.
Huh? Aren't you missing someone?
Captain! Wait for me!
What took you so long? We're leaving.
Yeah, and another interesting thing that's going to come up is that there's going to be like weapons with abilities that are usually useless for characters that are going to end up being super good. Like my Black Mage is going to end up being the samurai type character with really high strength, and she usually gets weapons that have like status ailments and stuff to make up the fact that she usually has really weak attacks. So she could end up having a really good status effect with a really good physical attack. So I'm really curious how things are going to turn out. All right, now can I go and get that treasure chest I missed?
We crossed the Moonflow.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I'm going to be
baby,
crafting
here
my
we
own
come.
celestial weapons. Okay, I can go back and get that chest. But I am definitely going to be looking at the crafting more in general because there's like an actual good reason to be using it now, because I'm gonna probably need to get some piercing stuff on Lulu, for example, because if she's gonna have high strength samurai stuff, she also needs a weapon like what Auron has. You made your own mage sword? Yeah, characters like Tidus in particular I'm gonna have to really work around because he doesn't have the strength he would normally have. It's gonna be interesting, I think. Pierce requires key spheres. Oh man. Why would they do that? That's so unreasonable. Yeah, but Zanarkand's like at the end of the game. I can't wait until Zanarkand to get piercing on Lulu.
Go, go, go!
Ooh, a Final Fantasy V randomizer could be real interesting. Like, especially if it randomizes each of your job levels. Like, you level up Knight and you get, like, dual cast. I mean, I do actually have a lot of level 1 key spheres from the Operation Mi'ihen fight. I got 6. So I can use that a bit, but I also probably need to save a few for the routes I'm on because they're so bad. I don't know what else the Final Fantasy VI randomizer could do besides the usual stuff like treasure chests and such. Actually, I wonder if the Final Fantasy VI randomizer would just have to take place in the world of Ruin. Like, how would that work?
So you need someone with magic skills.
And there's a good chance that the randomizer would be on the GBA version. I imagine that's the most moddable. I like how they do just know that stone is a real problem in this part of the game, so they just gave you a stone-proof piece of gear right at the start. But for all the people that don't check every single NPC like I'm doing, they would just not know that, and it's real rough. Where are you looking, Tidus? This happened when I was off-screen grinding. Tidus' position can get messed up in this map. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but look how far ahead he is. I'm not sure why that happens. Randomizing what jobs you get, that's definitely interesting. That would be real rough if it's like, congratulations, you get all the healing jobs, and that's it. Final Fantasy X's battle theme is weird. Yeah, I used to not like it when I was a kid, but I really it started to grow on me over time.
My turn.
Oh, that's some real damage from Yuna. For how low her stats are for now, at least. Eventually, she's gonna be doing all kinds of delay hits and stuff. It is kind of bland, but that's kind of important. Like, a battle theme needs to have the right amount of being a banger and also being, like, something that you can hear over and over again for a 40-hour game. There is a challenge run of Final Fantasy V where you just use 4 white mages, and that's been a thing since Final Fantasy 1, but it doesn't sound very fun. Okay, where is that treasure chest? I saw it in the cutscene. It can't be this far back, can it? Yeah, there we go. Brave Bangle. That's just probably anti-blindness. I mean, honestly, Final Fantasy X does have a problem where its boss themes are pretty dull. I think that it has some of the weakest boss themes in the franchise. Besides, like, the unique boss themes, like, Seymour's boss themes are really good. But you only hear those, like, 3 times total. Yuna is slowly gaining enough speed to actually hit these enemies. The time will come. Yeah, Final Fantasy V is one of the games where they really break up the magic into different categories to make use of the job system. Something I've been thinking about with this game too, I actually really appreciate how
let's end this.
You get stuff like I really like the idea of magic being split up, like how Wakka normally he gets certain black magic and Tidus gets certain white magic, and then the white mages and black mages don't actually get that normally. So it creates this kind of thing where it's like a separate job of its own, where Tidus gets like slow and Hastaga and stuff like that. And I think that's interesting how they would do something like that. Like Final Fantasy XII does it as well, where they have like green magic, arcane magic, all that kind of thing. But even when they don't categorize it differently, I just like the idea of splitting it up among different characters to create some kind of a different vibe. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna have to think carefully about what abilities I slap onto my characters using those spheres, Marvin. Alright, I forget who I've used and who I haven't used.
Training, huh?
Enough. That's how it's done.
Oh yeah, I do have one whole magic spell with Auron now. I can use Blizzard if need be. But at least I'm starting to get some mana. Cause yeah, no, he needs it. A measly 53. Oh yeah, how is the music? Is it? I made it a bit louder because now my mic's properly loud again. But I just want to make sure it's not overpowering me at all. Nope, nope, not Flea. I said this last stream, but I love how 2000s the shattering effect is. I miss when 3D games could just do whatever they felt like for effects, because they were just doing whatever it fits. Like, the effects in Final Fantasy VII are so fun, because they're just, it's like, oh, this enemy is a machine. How do they die? Oh, the polygons just go everywhere. They're just, every corner of the map, that's where they are for 1 frame. No, wait, not Lumi yet. First, Yuna.
Summoner Yuna, ready.
Alright. We're almost there. We did it. We prayed at the Temple of Jose. Party swap animations are kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah, PlayStation 2 games be like that sometimes. Okay, Auron should be able to beat the mushroom, but I'm not sure if Lulu can. But I'll do it anyways, I guess. Die, hopefully. Oh, that was close. Maybe I'll save this. No, don't get rid of Yuna. Gotta fight that instinct. That's a pretty fun idea for an animation, actually. I think I might steal that from my game. Nope. Okay. Gotta do some spot healing. Not that you need it for fights, but I should keep in mind that Yuna has haste. It's weird having her have some white magic, but then the one spell she's not supposed to have, basically. Alright, this should get me some good EXP. Not overkill, damn it. Ah. It's gonna be a bit before you're gonna get some real strength going. She's only getting these +2s for now. Man, the next strength is so out of the way too. That's so mean. But her time will come. Alright, let's find out what's next.